you scared of motorcycles, or do you think that tough guys out there are scared of motorcycles? You know, big, muscly guys. And this is where I'm at with this, right? I was actually listening to a podcast the other day, and they were talking about interviewing somebody, and the interviewer was saying, "Hey, look, you know, I ride motorcycles." And the interviewer was going, "Oh, wow, do you ride motorcycles? Oh, that's really, really tough, you know." And then I thought, well, okay, all these other celebs who have ridden motorcycles, right? Well, Sylvester Stallone rides motorcycles. Hulk Hogan rides motorcycles. Chuck Norris, I'm pretty sure used to. You know, we've got Tom Hardy. I think he rides a CCM. Jason Statham, yeah, rides bikes. Some mean dude. I have no idea whether he rides bikes. Wait a minute, and you'll see where I'm going with this. Dave Bautista, the blue guy from Guardians of the Galaxy, right? He rides a motorcycle. But this guy, maybe you heard of him, maybe you haven't. Joe Rogan, massive podcast, comedian, UFC commentator, all that sort of stuff. Tough guy, right? You're a tough guy, and you kick your ass if you give him half the chance, right? He's about my age. Great podcast. I really like listening to him. A bit warped with some of his ideas, but all fine and dandy, right? But he has a fear. It appears he has a fear of motorcycles. And then you think, well, actually, why do you have a fear of motorcycles? You know, you're a tough guy, aren't you? You know, you talk about stuff. You're supposed to rationalise stuff as well. So where does all this come from? Where does this come from? Where, you got people who should be able to deal with certain situations, and they just clearly not. Now, I'm not saying that everybody has to be able to... what's the word I'm looking for? They don't have to be able to like every situation or like every activity. This is not what this is about. It's more about that they have a bit of a fear about it. And it kind of rolls on to what I was talking about earlier with the other piece as well, when they're saying about, people have a hatred of things after a sort of mishap. People have either get scared in the same way after a mishap, and sometimes you just get scared of something that, well, you just get scared of it. But it's how people have an impression of what something is, if it's deemed as risky, whatever. But then you've got these same people who take part in other risky activities. So one thing though that I might find risky, they don't find risky. They might do skydiving, and I think, well, why jump out of a perfectly good aeroplane, if you know what I mean? Whereas, if I go motorcycle riding or whatever, and then they think, oh no, I wouldn't ever do that. So it's a weird thing. I remember many years ago now, I had these really there was two, there might have been brothers, but they were huge guys, right? They got into my vehicle, let's put it that way, that's all I'm going to say, right? They got into my vehicle, I did not even, I just about started the engine, and they had to get out. They were absolutely petrified. And I was kind of looking around going, well, where are you going? What are you doing? What, haven't you, what's the matter with you? So you just can't rationalise why people have a fear of something. And it doesn't matter, and I always say this, it doesn't matter how big you are, it doesn't matter how big and brave you are, how tough you are. As a tough guy, if you're one of these tough guys, right, it doesn't matter. Because at some point there's going to be something that can trigger a fear, a reaction. Sometimes it can be rational, sometimes it can be irrational, whatever. But people have fears of things, and this is not anything to be ashamed of. This is not that I'm poking fun at or anything like that. But I find it really interesting how some people can be fearful of one thing and not fearful of another. And it doesn't matter what size you are. You have this impression that guys, especially guys, the bigger they are, the muscly they are, the more powerful they are stronger all over. And that's not the case. Well, it might be the case in some respects, but it doesn't mean that just because you are big and powerful as a physical specimen, you are powerful in the mind, let's say, or you are not fearful of anything. Everybody, I dare say, is going to be fearful of something. It's whether how you deal with that fear, how you react to that fear, and that's the big thing. But look, again, I've been with people, been with men and women, but been with men tough guys who break down in tears. And it's got nothing to do with how tough you are, and it's got nothing to do with, whatever, because stress and life stress and everything takes over, and there's lots of emotions that goes on in people's lives. This has got very deep all of a sudden, I know that, but it doesn't mean to. But, people can be fearful of something irrationally. And I was listening to this podcast with this guy called Joe Rogan the other day, and it was kind of, I thought, well, what's your problem with that? I just don't. You of all people, I would have thought that you would. Actually, you're a tough guy. You could handle this kind of stuff. Whereas there are lots of other people who are not, you would class as tough, but they ride motorcycles. They ride them all over the place. There's never a problem. So it's how we perceive fear and how we perceive risk taking and what we do to counteract that and offset risks and everything. And I find that really interesting, how some people are triggered by certain things and some people are not triggered by things. Let us know your thoughts on that. Let us know your thoughts, what you think, and are you a tough guy, and are you scared of motorcycles? I don't think you have to be a tough guy to be scared of anything, basically, or you can be a tough guy and be scared of anything. I should say that. That's what I should say. I just found it really interesting. Another thing that came across my, into my field of view, as it were, and I thought, wow, that's an interesting thing.